speaker, who is one of my absolute favorite people. And I'm sure that any of you that know him will feel the same way. Mr. David Gallagher.
I didn't know who he was talking about until he said my name. Boy. Well, it's a privilege to be here to help usher John into the full-time world of quail hunting and golfing. I first met John back, it's been a while. Travis Kirkland hired him. And I remember John at our very first board meeting. I was getting pretty tired of the whole deal by then anyhow. We were kind of fractious. And we had John, and I thought, wow, Marine War College and stuff, this deal just took a notch up. And he, at the very first board meeting, we had some kind of issue going on, and John came up with a really good idea. And one of the board members said, John, that's a really good idea. Where did you get that? And he had this sort of earthy Marine phrase that popped up about the origin of that good idea. And she went, ooh. I thought, this is going to get entertaining, I think. I think I'm going to hang around and see what happens in Ivory Tower now. Then I learned he had this passion for hunting, and I realized, I learned because he learned first that I live in a quail paradise out in Coombs Canyon. So the next thing I know, I'm going hunting with John. And John never, I think he's got all kinds of bragging rights, and he just doesn't. But he was in one of these invasions over, I think it was Desert Storm, the first one. And after being involved with his passion for hunting, passion doesn't quite cover it, because I was convinced that if his commanders had known that all they had to do was tell John that over that hill beyond those hostiles is a great quail thicket, John would have had it by nightfall. And I know he never looked at a bomb-sniffing dog without thinking, if he can sniff bombs, he can sniff a quail. So then we actually go hunting, and I learned a couple of hard lessons. One, when you're standing next to this hellhole of brush and nettles, thorns, snake-infested, and John says, Dave, go down there and cross, climb up that mountain to the timberline where that rim rock is, and see if that pheasant I saw last year is still up there. He's not kidding. You look around at Matlock and Doherty and Ellsworth, and you go, I need a little support here, and they won't make eye contact. Oh, wow. So down we go. Then I learned another deal. John, and actually it's kind of sad. One of John's dogs just passed away. She's a wonderful, wonderful hunting dog named Scout. Molly was the first one. But I learned about John and his dogs is if you were by the dog, when the dog was on point down in one of those places, you're the guy that had to go down and flush the bird. So if you ever hunt with John, stay as far away from the dogs as you can. And John, and I learned that well. And also, if you're close to John at all, you're going to end up getting a back strain or something, because we've had to pull him out of a big old pile of tumbleweeds that he foundered in, because the dog was under it somewhere. He fell through a footbridge out at my place. We had to extricate him. Many times we've had to call Jaws of Life to get him out of a bush someplace. The other thing that I learned was after you did all that, if you survived, you got to go to John's house. And of course he has a system for cleaning the birds. One guy holds it, one guy clips their wings and legs, the other guy cleans them, you wash them. It's a great assembly line. The most startling thing about the first time this happened to me was, you get that all done, and you're in his driveway in his garage, and he comes up and he hands me a cigar. Whoa! I didn't even know they were still legal cigars. I thought, whoa, what? I said, can we smoke it in public out here? And then he comes in and he comes out with a beer. It's not light. It has no overtones of blackberry or apricot. Beer. So you got a beer and a cigar and bloody hands, and you're just thinking, oh, I've arrived. And then Gail comes home and you think, uh-oh. And she's got this amazing facility. She walks by us, getting out of the car, stops, talks to us. We could have been in the Rogers Fellowship room. I said, how are you boys doing? Did you have a good time hunting? You know, everything but enjoy the cigars. So that was my introduction to his hunting. Then he became president. And at our very first executive session when John was president, and it was this budget negotiating time. And believe me, this was the time when it was just warfare. And so I thought, well, we're going to fight, we're going to get our marching orders. John's going to tell us his approach. And I thought it's probably like scorched earth, search and destroy stuff. So I said, John, how are we going to approach these negotiations? He says, you know, I said, I think I'm going to go around their offices and talk to them, see what they want. He said, I think they got some pretty good ideas. And I thought, whoa, this still just went 180 on us. And what it made me think of, there was this old Civil War soldier's memoirs, who was in that Eastern Army and get kicked around really bad under a lot of questionable generals. And then Abraham Lincoln appointed General Grant to run that army. And this old boy was there when General Grant first rode into that army, and he said, when we saw General Grant ride into camp, we knew the boss had arrived. I knew the boss had arrived at that first meeting. It's been a good ride, buddy, but it ain't over yet. We got birds to kill.